Yeah, how do you feel?
Good. This has been a long, I'm going to have to hold back some tears because it's a little emotional. A long 10 months this process has been. And we've seen both the positives and the negatives of our community come out in the political process, as politics normally do. But at the end of the day, the message that our campaign has spoken about progress and community involvement, transparency, I think that resonated with a lot of people, and that has been and is going to be our process moving forward, and it has to be. As a community, as a small community, we need to include people. We need to take a more progressive approach in terms of how we manage our government and how we include people in managing our government. And so we're just really looking forward to ramping up over the next couple months with a strong transition. And like we said, mayor on day one, I'm bringing a lot of resources with me come day one, a lot of experience, a network of people that we can really hit the ground running, which is what we need. We need that in our community right now. And so just very fulfilling, very satisfying to be given the honor to represent our community in this way. So, and I look forward to it.
Do you feel even more emotional because on election night you were behind, even though you were expressing confidence because, a lot of the mail-in and absentee ballots were expected to be Democratic.
Yeah.
But does this kind of add to what you're feeling today because you were behind?
No, I mean, it's certainly satisfying to see the gap we made up and exceeded. And in terms of what we expected, numbers and projections and models and all the other political nonsense, we did expect to make up that gap. We knew the minimum that we needed to make, and then we started to see national averages come in, and that really exceeded what we expected and what would have been expected. No, I think my emotional is just all of the outpouring of support and love that I've seen, in this campaign, and from my family and from my supporters and my my team of people, my campaign team that has just been day in, day out, nonstop, pushing me, driving the campaign forward, driving our message, and that goes a long way with me.
A lot of people are saying that the budget should not be passed this month.
I agree.
And should wait until January.
100%. 100%
What
agree with that.
can you do about that?
I mean, the only thing right now that I have the power to do is just, lobby those counselors to say, let's wait, let's hold off on it. The budget that came out in June was apparently good enough. Why is there all of a sudden a rush to push something through that we can give it more thought? We have union contracts that are out of date, years of back pay that we need to pay. We've got staffing issues. We've got all kinds of investment issues and infrastructure issues that we need to address. And we can do that in a reasonable, fiscally responsible, fiscally conservative way without setting ourselves up for failure in the next 2 to 3 years. So let's take some time to think through that right now.
If it does get passed, though, what can you do about it on January 1?
You kind of ride with it, and you make some adjustments as you go, and I think that the council is pretty reasonable at this point, or they could be, to come back to the table to propose something with a little bit more understanding on how that's going to impact our future.
Having this election behind you now,
Yeah.
Do you think that would give you that seat at the table? Do you think people are going to listen to your suggestions more?
I couldn't tell you. The best thing that I can do is ask, and like I have been on certain key issues that have been happening in the city, reaching out to my contacts on the council and having them take a look at these things again and really asking for some reason just being reasonable.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't take office until January 1st anyway, and the
Correct.
budget the state mandate for the budget is mid-January.
Correct.
Could you really make that many changes anyway?
I don't think we could make a broad changes. There might be minor changes that we can make leading up to that deadline. But there would not, and I wouldn't imagine there being a wholesale revision of the budget that's been proposed, but maybe small changes along the way.
Obviously, budgetary is gonna be a huge issue for you,
Yeah.
but what else are you planning to address, you know, priority-wise,
Yeah.
you know, as you go in?
That cohesion that we need in our community is essential. I mean, like, without our community partners, the number of community groups that have popped up and that have been growing and have been building momentum for having a voice in governmental decision-making, those folks need to be brought to the table. We need to have this partnership with the town of Plattsburgh right now, not January 1. We need to go in January 1 knowing the steps that we're going to take to solve some of these issues that our community has seen over the last 4 years. Talking with Supervisor Cashman, 100%, he's on board with it. I'm on board with it, and I believe it's now just a matter of making sure that our councils are on board with it and getting those people together to make sure that we can build some of that momentum.
Just speaking of counselors, we have one new counselor coming in.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about those elections and how they went?
I think those elections went as expected. You know, I said from the beginning that we were not going to run our campaign against the council. You know, our campaign was going to be for mayor. So, you know, our position was stay out of those elections. You know, if people had needed advice or needed support along the way, certainly provide it as needed. But the criticism for any counselors or trying to support a particular council person over another, it was not going to be our position. Because we need to work with folks, and we want to work with folks, and we want to work with anybody who's going to be elected in those positions. So, you know, I'm happy to see, certainly I'm happy to see more women represented on the council. I think that's key for our community. We need more diversity in politics, local politics. So having a younger woman elected to our council is nice to see, and it's appreciated. We need those kinds of voices. But short of that, I think would be my only kind of position on those elections, yeah.
With the DRI votes delayed,
Yeah.
they now become yours.
Sure.
So from day one in January, what do you do on this?
Yeah.
How do you bring the community together, and does this project move forward as it?
Yeah, you know, at this point, as I've said in the past, our focus is two things. One, what's our plan B if the zoning board doesn't move forward and doesn't see a path moving forward with that project? So what's our plan B? Short of a plan B, how do we go back to the state and say, hey, we want to keep that money internally, we want to keep that money for development, but we have no plan B. That really doesn't hold much water. Then the second thing is including and making sure that we have community benefit protections when we do get projects like this, when we do get public and private monies that come into our community, and start to build those into our zoning and planning process and development process.
Do you want the zoning board to reject it?
Yeah, I do, and I think that certainly has been part of my message in terms of those projects. They need to be lined up with our community demands. They need to be lined up with our zoning and planning laws, whatever those zoning and planning laws are. I think ultimately, though, we need to come back and we need to revise and review our zoning and planning laws like we talked about in 2013. There was a major point of my campaign back then. Those zoning and planning laws need to be updated so that when we do get big projects, when we do get investment monies into our community, they are aligned with what we want and how we want those monies to be invested. Investment in our waterfront, public access to our waterfront, green space, things that are really key, and the things that why we love our community. You know, these are things that we love. And so when it comes to development in our city, we want those types of development projects, but we also want them to be focused on community benefit.
Do you scrap the prime project altogether or
It's
scale
not,
it back?
actually, it's not going to be up to me as the mayor. It's going to be up to the zoning board, but I will support the zoning board's decision. I've been in the room with Prime. I've asked them to capitulate to the demands of the zoning board based on what the zoning board's been asking them, based on what the community has been asking them. Whether that fits their financial model or not, that has been up to them. But when the zoning board comes back and says, hey, this is what we want, this is how we want it, and there has been no change, well, then it's up to the zoning board to then do the right thing. And I've supported that.
Not your decision, but is it the right fit, the prime project?
I don't think it is the right fit, and that's what I said. I never thought it was the right fit. When it comes to the size and scope of that project, it doesn't fit our downtown. It doesn't look like it should fit our downtown. It encroaches on our waterfront too much, and I know that they've made changes. But at the end of the day, it goes back to what the Zoning and Planning Board has been saying. It's not a fit for us, and it needs to change. It needs to change on these criteria, and then we can come back to the table and figure out if that's the good fit for us. So.
Now, I know you said in one of our interviews, I remember you said, I never imagined being a politician, and this
Yeah.
is home for you.
Yeah.
And now you live here with Tracy and Miles.
Yeah.
Is this kind of surreal for you, for your son now, to be growing up in a city where you're mayor?
Yeah, right. It's funny because he's 3, right? And I got to tell you, like the one of the most amazing things that have come out of this is every time I go to a meeting now, he asks, "Is Mr. Scott going to be there?" Man, that means a lot. You know, that means a lot that he's going to grow up in this community, just as I grew up in this community. And the only thing that I kind of regret is that he won't remember much of this. You know, he's 3. So, but as we kind of capture these things, and as he grows up, it'll be nice to find ways for him to also participate in this process, because he's engaged. He's a good kid. Yeah. Yeah.
The presidential race isn't entirely settled yet, but
Oh,
is
yeah.
it your hope that the lame duck Congress may come through with a DR, or with a relief
Unencumbered
bill?
federal aid? Yeah.
Yes, and how critical is that to Plattsburgh?
It's absolutely critical, and that's what we've been saying both on the legislature and during this campaign. Unencumbered federal aid will help us through this process. It's not something that we're looking for 100% replacement of what we're losing or what we've lost, but it will help pad some of the problems. And when Senator Gillibrand was here, we lobbied for that. We've lobbied Lee Stefanik's office for that unencumbered federal aid. But it really is crucial for communities like ours. Now, from the county's perspective, we were projecting a 20% loss in sales tax income, but we're only seeing a 3% decrease, or 3% loss in sales tax income. So that's a good indicator that we are not in such bad shape as we expect it to be. However, having that level of support is key for our community. We're a small community. We're limited, as any municipality, we're limited in the amount of revenue that we can generate and in the ways we can generate that revenue. So it really is crucial for us, and we'll continue to lobby in whatever capacity that we're in until it comes through. But we are hoping for the best.
His question on federal stuff brought to mind transition, because
Uh-huh.
the federal transition is so up in the air.
Sure.
What kind of transition do you expect going into the mayoral seat?
Yeah.
Are you working with Mayor Reeves yet?
No, I'm not working with Mayor Reed. I hope to, and I'll reach out to his office before the end of today. I do hope to work with his office. I have had a couple of department heads indicate that, hey, if and I'm sure they indicated to any mayoral candidate who might win, hey, if you need that support, we're here for you. We want you to be successful, just as we want the city to be successful, and I would appreciate that. I do have a transition team, and I have reached out to them to schedule a meeting for later this week, just to get a good sense of where we should be and what we should be looking at over the next several months. But then I will also reach out to some department heads and try to get that going as well.
Do you anticipate a lot of changes?
No, I wouldn't say anything major other than some cultural changes that we need to make. You asked, do I see a lot of change? Yeah, no, I don't see anything. No, I don't know yet, to be honest, and I don't really see a lot of structural changes to be made. More cultural than anything else. More, how do we communicate? How do we include people in this process? Yeah, mostly that right now, and going. As somebody who has come into organizations that are kind of in flux like this, I know it doesn't bode well. It doesn't make any difference to come in with an idea about we're going to make all these changes, and they kind of fall flat. You got to be in there for a while. You've got to feel things out. You got to understand the nuances of the situation before you can bring some suggestions to it.
So you ran in 2013,
I did.
7 years later? How
Yeah,
does it
7
feel
years.
now?
It feels good. Like I said, I never expected, and I never grew up thinking I'd be a politician, but here I am, kind of now a full-time politician. But it feels good. And, when we came home in 2013, it was really for a purpose, which was to contribute to our community and contribute in a way that had meaning, that had purpose, and it feels right.
Sorry, just one last thing I
Yeah,
just thought
please.
of. Can we expect a special election for your county seat?
Yeah, you would, or an appointment. It really will depend on the legislature at this point. I will ask for a special election. Unfortunately, that does cost a little bit of money for the city of Plattsburgh, but it should be expected or planned for. Yeah, there will likely be a special election, and I believe they have 3 months to do that, so sometime in March to complete that special election. My area is a fantastic area, and I it's been a true honor representing Area 9 at the legislature. And I've appreciated everything that I've learned as being representative of Area 9. So, but yeah, there'll be a special election at some point.
You'll
You
stay
stay in the
on as
seat
legislator,
Through the
though.
end of the.
Correct. So I'll stay on until I'm sworn in, and then that seat will be vacant. There may be a temporary appointment. I don't know. That's what has happened in the past. But then it will be up to the legislature at that point to either appoint for the year, I believe, or run a special election, which will fill out the rest of the term. Yeah.
So what do you do today to celebrate?
Oh, goodness. I'm going to go have a coffee, which I probably should not have another coffee, to be honest, but I'm going to go and have a coffee. Make some phone calls, call my mom, of course, and, hug Tracy, and probably go and meditate for a little bit. I've got to, calm down. My mind is everywhere right now. But just have probably just a chilled out night with family and friends, and yeah, that's it. That's it. And by the way, until the election is certified, that's how it goes. Yeah.
Scott Beebe was very gracious in defeat. You guys
Yeah, sure.
are
Absolutely.
You don't get that with all the races as
No,
we see.
no, we haven't seen that. So, and I appreciate it. And look, every single time we've been in the room, we've shook hands, we've exchanged greetings, and it's been really respectful. And I really have appreciated that. And that's what a local race is about. We know where each other live. We know where each other work. People know people know what we do, kind of thing. So to have it go any other way would just be really inappropriate for our community. And I've really respected Scott and have said so, both to him and privately and publicly. So and I've appreciated him. Yeah.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
We'll see you at City